blazing so bright, calling the fight from the lands. We stand from dawn to twilight. The empires rise and conquer. In the wild face of danger, carry on to the victory. You better take a deep breath. Each stone it brings a bitter fight. Another chill may run down your spine. Fear looks beyond the edge of sight. Carry on to the glory, to the great victory. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, try to fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary. Chaos for sharpening your knife. Make way to find your destiny. Worship a man or a shrine. Can both recall the scattered. In the wild town of wardrobes, tearing down all the enemies. You better capture the arcs. The carriers may bug you down. Set up for the swiftest ride. Sneaky Texas work as your best ally. Carry on to the glory, to the great victory. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, try to fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary. Across the ocean lands, stories will be told. How you struggle, how you try to define the world. With a sacred name, you are the one chosen to start up the storm. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, try to fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary.
Hello, governors. Welcome to the 2024 Grand Prix Lower Bracket Round 3. I'm your host, Plato Gaming, caster and content creator for Rise of Kingdoms. And today we are joined by our fellow caster, Dirty Dan. Thanks for being here with me, man.
Good morning or good evening, everyone, and hello, Plato. Glad to be back with you for week 5, I think it is, or week going into week 4. I don't know. It's all a blur, but it's been a really good time casting all these matches so far.
All a blur indeed. And you know, Dirty Dan, I was looking at that music video, and more of those flags are falling. More of these teams are falling as we get deeper and deeper in the tournament. But for those that have not been here, the Grand Prix is the pinnacle of competitive Osiris League, where the best of the best teams from both the international server and the Chinese server get to compete to prove themselves as the best Osiris League teams in the world. Today we are casting the lower bracket, meaning that these teams are in a win or go home scenario, and they have to get a win to keep their Grand Prix hopes alive. The match that we're casting, the first match that we're casting today, rather, is the Battle of the W's, 748W versus 466W. 748W are the reigning Realm of Bassa champions in the international server and are one of the only 3 international server representatives that are still in the Grand Prix and have impressed thus far with their 2 wins against Beer. 466W hail from the Chinese server and have only fought Chinese server teams up to this point. So the question is, Dirty Dan, will 748W show that they could win against teams other than Beer? Or will 466W show the trends, continue the trends rather, of Chinese server dominance? Dirty Dan, what are your thoughts of this matchup?
I'm definitely we got to be rooting for 748W a little bit. I mean, to try and keep these international server hopes alive, especially when you look on the other side on that next match that you're going to be casting with Brian with 489 and 93T, which is going to eliminate one of them outright. So I think in deep in my heart, I'm definitely rooting for 748W. But what I'm looking for in this match is 748W does have a little bit of experience with a top Chinese server team fighting GY16 in that second week, which ultimately sent them into the lower bracket. And from everything that I've seen with GY16, they're almost like the 93T of the Chinese server. So I think that exposure that they had earlier in the tournament to a very, very high level team will prove beneficial for them in this match today. I did have the honor of kind of interviewing 748W and speaking with Yomi from there. And one of the things that we keyed in on was the low provisioning score that 748W has been kind of showing, and they are not going to be looking to adapt or change that in any way. So I think we're gonna look to stick to our guns, as we've kind of seen a lot in these lower bracket matches. Teams kind of sticking to the strategies that they have, and really kind of relying on what's already set in place and to lead them into victory.
Yeah, I mean, that GY16 match was actually very, very close from 748W. GY16, seen as one of, if not the tournament champions, they were actually put to the brink here, about a 3K point differential. All of that was made difference by the difference in provision score, 6.2K to 1.6, which is how 748W ended up losing that match. So, I mean, it'll be really, really interesting, 748W, if they can continue through the lower bracket and, you know, sharpen their skill set here versus 466W. The winner of this match faces 21YL, which is yet another Chinese server team. So it'll be a tough bracket for a tough road for either of these teams. But 748W being, you know, the one that the international server individuals at least are rooting for. Let's talk about 466W though. 466W, their road here was actually quite interesting. They lost week 1 against 261K. But then week 3, they had a rematch and were able to get revenge, winning by about 100 points there. What do you think of 466W and you know, how are their chances in this match?
I think they're very good. A lot of the best Osiris League teams that you see in general do a really good job of adapting, whether that's in-game or kind of changing their strategies, you know, from match to match. And 466W is kind of the epitome of this. I mean, they've shown in previous weeks to kind of play occupation, play a little bit balanced, I want to say, kind of having a pretty even provision score, occupation score, and also going for arcs. Whereas last week, we saw them no arcs captured, but kind of shooting up the provision score and really kind of focusing on occupation. So 466W is kind of proven to be a team that can maybe do it all a little bit. They've kind of practiced all the scenarios. So if they need to be balanced coming out of this match against 748W, or if they need to take the occupation approach and then go on to provision a little bit more, I think that they can do either or. So it's going to be very interesting to see in those first opening moments of the match if they're going to choose to match 748W or if they're going to kind of want to respond with something a little bit different, as we've seen with Chinese server teams, especially going up against international teams, opting to go for an occupation-based game and then kind of sending out those provisioners right around that first mid-arc fight. So I think once we get to that point, it's going to be very interesting to see what 466W will do.
We do not have to speculate anymore as we get into the game here. We have 748W, one of the last international server hopes, in the top left corner. We have the bottom right corner, 466W. The Chinese server team trying to continue their dominance here. It is going to be quite the interesting matchup here. This is the first game of 2 that we'll be casting on the stream. The second game will be 489 versus 93T. the other two international server teams, all of the international server teams being in the lower bracket. You know, what did you learn from your interview, Dirty Dan? Dirty Dan did an interview. It is on his channel with Yomi from 748W. You know, what are some insights that you got from 748W and you know, for those that were not able to watch the interview as of yet?
So that they're honestly fascinating. When you really start to peel back the onion on this team, they're fairly international. With Viet Minh, as you can see there on screen, he's kind of the leader and planner there. He has a good line where he calculates all, and he is an old player from 1V. There's a bunch of players from Song and from Duck. Very, very big international base, and I think the biggest thing from them is they don't do these matches in an ARC voice call. It's purely markers and kind of like the new system that you have, like where you can ping on the map, and it's really fascinating to see that they can do as much as they've done without being in voice call. So I think that just speaks to how versatile and how flexible that they can be. And that kind of speaks to probably both teams here, that they can both be pretty flexible coming out of these gates here.
Oh, wow. By the way, they have the counter sentry here. 748W, knowing the Chinese server tactics, putting the defensive sentry in front of their base to make sure that they do not have vision of where their troops are going. That's that
Viet Minh, I calculate all.
That is the first calculation of the international server indeed. We'll have to see if that will pay off. All of the rallies are up. It actually looks like 748W got their rallies up a little bit beforehand. Shouldn't mean too much, just as 466W will get the first tap on this obelisk by about a couple seconds here. Overall, the map state looking pretty interesting. We have a second sentry, a backup sentry from 466W, so they definitely want to see what's going on in this bottom side. They smell something fishy, perhaps towards a desert altar. So they have a full vision of the units going to this bottom side. Dirty Dan, what do you think of the openings thus far?
I like them, honestly. I mean, I think I've spoken a lot on the fact that the international server teams haven't kind of adapted what the Chinese server teams by placing that sentry right up on front of the gate. And I just love the move there of Viet Minh and just kind of anticipating it and just dropping in and saying, hey, you can't get that clear of a view on us, and essentially burning a sentry. And it really kind of tells you with 466W that they want to hold on to that bottom side desert altar. Like it kind of indicates to me that they don't want to risk losing that right up front. So I would look to have a pretty decent defense hold there from 466W on their home desert altar.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Chinese server teams, international server, we were talking about the outer lane structures. Chinese server teams, they really like defending this initial, their own inner altar here, then flipping that huge win into a sky altar assault. We'll see if that will be the play for 466W. I mean, the thing about 466W that I will say, they are the second team from 466 in the Chinese server that are in the Grand Prix. 466S are also in the Grand Prix in the lower bracket. They will be versing the winner of 489 and 93T. So those two teams, you know, being in the same kingdom, super impressive from 466 and the Chinese server. And iron sharpens iron. They could practice against each other. They have in kingdom practice scrims built in. So we'll have to see if they were able to cook up something throughout the week as this match continues with, it looks like a couple Viet Minh marches, just checking out what's going on from 466W. Perhaps trying to poke them down before they get into the murder ball here.
Yeah, I think you can see too from the way that 466W is kind of setting up, especially with the presence that they have on the entirety on the bottom side. Not much presence on that Shrine of Life. Really sending everything that they have to defend that home desert altar here.
Yeah, it looks like overall, everything looks pretty standard. There is no obelisk takes. It looks like there are a lot of units though coming up from 748W in the Sky Altar. Desert Altar, we'll have to see if the Desert Altar is compromised because of it. It does look like there are more red marches in the blue side home Desert Altar. We start to see the sad faces coming up from the blue side here. So 748W, if they lose their own home Desert Altar, they have to trade it with the Sky Altar. You could see that the Murder Ball, very, very red now. Only a couple blue marches left, and the assault on the Sky Altar in this top side is rather slow. We'll have to see how they decide to go in. 30 seconds left, and their Desert Altar is already clear.
I would like to see that pacing a little bit faster on that top side assault, because you got to get moving, because now you have to keep in mind that those, although they kind of cleared out that ball rather quickly for 466W, now they have the option to kind of rotate back onto that to help the defense on the Sky Altar. Probably not, and as we've seen too with Chinese server teams, they don't like to zero out their troops that much. So I would expect that Murder Ball from 466W to be a little bit proactive here with that time that they have.
466W taking 3 of the first taps of these altars. They have to hold all of them for 3 minutes to get first occupation. It looks like here, as we were talking about, some teams would just run into the cities, call it a day. All right, we were able to delay the first capture. Dirty Dan, this Desert Altar is giving me some deja vu. If this Desert Altar doesn't get captured for the first half of the game, like that 27WP 489 match, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's a good callback. Yeah, and that's it's exactly what we've kind of seen from a majority of the Chinese server teams, where they'll kind of hold that Murder Ball right in front of the Desert Altar, or any altar for that matter, that they take on the offensive, and they'll kind of use that as like a first line of defense. And it kind of works. It really does kind of help, I would say, on that first assault, and it really kind of takes a second try to kind of go back.
An early dust up from 748W here, just to try to get a little bit of an advantage in these initial first occupation, first captures. Again, these altars giving 750 points for first occupation. You can see that 748W, they are desperately trying to get this to the Sky Altar. It looks like, will they be able to get it? It is super low. Reinforcements sprinting into the Sky Altar. It looks like they were able to get some reinforcements in here.
Yeah, it's an impressive hold.
Eleanor holding on for dear life. An impressive hold indeed. Will it be successful though? They still need some more reinforcements. They might even need a backup garrison for this Eleanor. But the blue marches are starting to sad face out as well, with more red marches continuing to defend the Sky Altar. This would be an absolutely huge hold for them.
Yeah, and I don't hate the play on the dust up, but you have to make it count, right? Like you have to take this structure, because that's kind of what you were using it for, you know? So I don't hate that play.
It works out because the garrison was popped out. The backup garrison was about 5 seconds away, but they were able to get a late flip on the Sky Altar. They're also able to get their own Desert Altar back. So in all honesty, this is a big play from 748W. The reason being is they're able to get 4 altars at this point. There is 4.5 minutes until arc, and now 466W, they have to answer the question, do we try to contest first occupation on our own altars, or do we start rotating for mid? In all honesty, if they are down 4 altars, there's no point of going mid because your home structures are gone.
Yes, I agree. And we've seen how devastating the 4 altar flip can be. Not to mention, if you add onto the fact that these are all going to cash in first occupation points, as well as generating those 150 points per minute. So I think 466W right now is a little bit on the back foot. That dust up play may be proving to be very beneficial for 748W, as we're just under 4 minutes going into this first mid arc fight.
Yeah, this is going to be so interesting. The Murder Ball is so... The marches are very, very scattered. It looks like they're going for the open field fights, waiting for a rally, trying to clear out the open field, then swarming with the rally. we have a CPOA with Tariq on this rally here. 1 minute 30 seconds until first occupation points are cashed in. This is a huge win and huge pressure point for 748W. In all honesty, it looks like 466W are kind of sprinting in one by one, while 748W are able to pick them off.
Yeah, 466W looks pretty scattered right now, and I don't blame them because they kind of pushed up onto the past this desert altar. They kind of won that first fight here on the bottom. They won the topside desert altar, and then all of a sudden, like they're kind of in the driver's seat, and then all of a sudden, boom, they kind of get hit in the face with this dust up, and the next thing you know, field starts clearing and kind of favor shifts in for 748W. And this is the composure aspect that we talk about it, where you can get a little bit rattled here, and it's going to be very interesting to see how 466W responds to this.
This Sky Altar has been taken back. First occupation point saved. The Desert Altar will be taken from 748W, so this Desert Altar will start generating points. Desert Altar in the bottom side, though, looks like 748W trying to hold this Desert Altar for their dear lives, trying to at least get 750 points of first occupation. Ooh. On top of taking away the 4 minutes of occupation points that 466W would have gotten if they were able to capture this Desert Altar. And we are down to the last 20 seconds here. You could see that there is a Matilda out in the open field. Matilda trying to fill in that Desert Altar. Looks like the Desert Altar will stay alive. 3, 2, 1. A huge capture from 748W. Able to take the first occupation points. 750 points given to them, taken away from their opponents, resulting in a 1.5k swing, which is half of an arc right there. So they sacrificed that mid control for the delay on the Sky Altar, and for the first occupation taken away on the Desert Altar. We'll have to see if 748W will be able to contest the arc as well, or if 466W will trade the pressure on their Sky Altar and Desert Altar for mid pressure. It does look like there are a lot of 466W marches around the Temple of Osiris, as there is 1 minute until this arc spawns.
And I think even though 466W has the entire control of this right now, 748W knows that they have this many troops in mid due to the sentry, due to there's 2 scouting marches on right on the outside hugging those walls. So I have a good feeling that 748W knows that 466W has this many troops in mid, and now they're going to probably dictate that call to say, hey, let's forego this and maybe just go for a little bit more of an occupation structure on this first rotation.
And talking about the chat, they're saying all the marches look so dispersed. I saw these 2 players having like a 1v1. No one can interrupt us. It's just going to be 5 marches versus 5 marches. Meanwhile, the main murder ball down here. It does look like 466W have some clear control around this Temple of Osiris, around the arc, as there is 10 seconds until the arc spawns. They were able to get their altars back, but it does look like 748W are aggressing super heavily on the Sky Altar, which still has not cashed in. First capture, first occupation, 20 seconds left, and this Sky Altar is getting pretty low. So this looks like to be the point of contention instead of the first arc here. If 748W are able to take first occupation off both altars, they'll actually negate the first arc just in first occupation points alone, on top of the points that they were taken away from delaying the altar. But it does look like the Sky Altar was able to cash in first occupation, a huge hold from 466W rather.
Yeah, that's a good hold from them too, and just kind of like having the game sense too to keep as many resources up there that they needed, right? They sent a pretty good contingent of troops into the middle. So I think I want to say I got to commend 466W on that hold there, and kind of knowing how important that was to get those first occupation points.
As we continue on with the rest of this match here, the arc was taken back though. There's a T1 march on this arc. That's how comfortable they are with the arc carrier here. Looks like it will be attacked. There is a sneaky tactics used by 748W. I wonder where the sneaky tactics is going. It looks like it's only on Viet Ming's marches. So
He
Viet
calculates all.
Minh using sneaky tactics on his own marches here. They did take down the arc carrier, so that will be at least a couple of seconds taken away from this arc capture here. Will they be able to get a pull off? It does look like they were not able to. 466W able to get the second pull off as well. I don't know how I feel about that sneaky tactics, Dirty Dan. What do you think of that sneaky tactics on what seems like 3-4 marches?
Yeah, maybe not super optimized there, but also I think maybe just potentially matching the tempo of what would have been a normal arc fight anyway, and in terms of point usage. Now the amount of on the amount of points used now, the pacing of the points being used is a little bit off kilter in my opinion, but I think maybe just trying to match what they would have used in the middle anyway is probably my guess.
I would also assume that the sneaky tactics marches or sneaky tactics were hit on some of these marches attacking this Desert Altar. So perhaps the Desert Altar take was also due to the sneaky tactics buff. But yeah, we'll have to see if that'll pay off or not, because they were at least able to take away the Desert Altar for quite some time there. As we continue on with the rest of this match, let's see where the rest of the assault is. And I will say there are more skirmishes all over the map. Usually it's like one big murder ball. There's like the people fighting here. There's like people fighting here. It's looking like a rugged ragtag, you know, I fight whoever's in front of me type of match. There's no balling up or anything. It's just go, go, go from both teams here.
That is what you want to see in the lower bracket. Is they're literally fighting for their Grand Prix lives here.
Yeah, I mean, both teams fighting with desperation, fighting for their Grand Prix lives, as you said. Who is the better W? Is it 748W or is it 466W? Both of them are fighting to get a W. As we start to see a Desert Altar assault, looks like it is just a rally with 3 marches. Ultimately, the structures, I feel like 748W have had an advantage. They've been more on the aggressive side, or at least their attacks have been more successful. You can see there are attacks on the Sky Altar, but it's just a rally. There's an attack on a Desert Altar. It's just a rally and a couple marches here. So out of the tempo for 748W, definitely on their side for the structures here. 466W, though, able to get that arc. They actually captured it early, Dirty Dan. So
yeah,
we're talking about the points and skills used.
Definitely trying to take advantage of that. That's again another just a game sense thing. Hey, we know that they just burned all these skill points. Let's cash this in quick. Let's get to another mid arc rotation, and we should be up on points, skill points. Yeah,
they didn't even use energetic. They're saving energetic. They didn't pop it instantly. We saw 748 use energetic. They use sneaky tactics to use Heaven's Grace versus the 2 points of Dust Up. This is 7 points, 9 points rather of skills that were used versus 2 points from 466W. They probably have a close to a full bar, which is why they didn't use energetic. And they're going to leverage that for a potential fast second mid fight, which is very, very uncharacteristic from the Chinese server. We've seen Chinese server teams just go occupation, go provisions, and then just win off that. Perhaps 466W, seeing that 748W do not provision, saying, hey, it is more safe to go for these mid fights, because even if, you know, there won't be a back end of provisioners from 748W at the end of the match that we have to look out for. So just trying to get as many points on the board as possible, because there won't be lingering points in provisions from 748W.
Yeah, and I think this also speaks to, again, that flexibility that 466W has been able to show us in this Grand Prix. You know, playing a balance game or playing an occupation game, and I think you can see here now too, we're just kind of leaning towards, hey, let's play a little bit of this mid fight game, and kind of again, and I don't think that's essentially what they wanted to do in this match, right? But because 748W is kind of showing them the hand a little bit of how much skill points they're using, they're able to make calls like that, and that's what you really see from top tier Osiris League teams, and 466W is kind of giving us a showcase on that right now.
What you also see from top tier Osiris League teams is being able to flip your opponent's altars. 748W have been hammering both the Desert Altar and the Sky Altar of 466W. 466W look like they're in the back foot. They have not been able to aggress on 748 structures at all. These structures from 748W have been generating points for free throughout this whole match. You could see the difference in occupation score, about a 2k differential right now. And the question is, will this mid play from 466W be enough to counter the 748W relentless assault on these Desert Altars and the Sky Altars on the occupation points?
Yeah, I think 466W is maybe feeling a little bit here of having all these provisioners out. So probably about a player and a half's worth of provisioners. From what I've seen on the map, so maybe feeling that presence a little bit here, as they haven't quite been able to, as you said, be the aggressor on any of these structures, and they kind of keep losing their home structures. So maybe feeling that pinch a little bit here from sending out those provisioners, and that's some of that give and take that you see. This provisioning strategy isn't all uncounterable. There's definitely the downsides to sending out as many provisions as some of these Chinese teams have been sending out.
So, as you said, it looks like they are going to provision, which indicates to me that they're not looking to aggress at all on 748W structures here. With the extra marches tied in provisioning, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 provisioners that I see for now. That should grow exponentially as they get control, if they get control of the second arc, rather. But you can start to see the marches now rotating middle, 3 minutes to go. It is a late rotation from both teams, but if both teams are late, then you're on time. And it does look like there are more 748W marches than 466W marches. We'll have to see how 466W respond to this second mid fight.
Yeah, I think this second arc is definitely crucial for both teams, right? For as you stated, 466W kind of enters that driver's seat a little bit more. They can kind of say, hey, let's throw out even more provisioners, and then let's really try and focus on holding our structures. Whereas if 748W gets this, they can continue to put that pressure on 466W on the structure game, as they've been doing kind of this entire match, as they're leading the occupation score in 2,000 points currently. So big mid arc fight coming up here for both teams,
as both teams here, 748W, I will say, have been impressing this match. They are down in points, but they're able to flip the structures when they want to, and it looks like they're able to rotate mid on time with their markers, as we were talking about. So this is going to be a very, very interesting mid fights. We have 1 minute 40 seconds, and there are still marches walking from 466W structures here. 1 minute until that Zhuge Liang gets to middle. That's going to only leave 30 seconds for them to, get all of them and push up to get positioning here. But we do have to point out, 466W should have a point advantage. They did already use Dust Up. I'm curious to see what skills are used from both of these teams. Will it be a to the death call, or will it be Bog Down, Heaven's Grace? We'll have to see, Total Vision, whatever it is. As there is 1 minute left, there's one scouting march from 748W to make sure that they know exactly where 466W are. 466W look like they will be taking position in the bottom of the Temple of Osiris. 748W on the top side of the temple. Man, this is going to be a very interesting mid-fight.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see the skills being used here. We always talk about to the death, but when you have as many troops as we're seeing in this mid-fight, you kind of get that feeling too that where To the Death kind of doesn't become super optimal with some of the other skill choices that you have on the board.
As you can see, Bog Down used by 466W. We have Dust Up in response from 748W. Those are the only two skills in the beginning of this fight. So it is Dust Up versus Dust Up Bog Down. 748W should have the numbers advantage, but the skill advantage going to 466W. Arc has appeared. There is a plethora of marches sad facing from the blue side here. Who will get first pull though? First pull will be very important. 466W, the hero double C, running for their lives. And now this will be spell disaster for 748W, because even though the murder ball, they might have had more marches, they are sad facing, and now they have to compromise their damage to chase the arc carrier. But the arc carrier has already gotten a very, very clean pull. They're already halfway out of the middle here, and the marches are now finally catching up. But 748W, they were sad faced, they were routed, they were taken out of this middle fight, and now this double C is sprinting. It is a T1 march, where this T1 march is zooming away from 748W. It was taken down, but this is a very, very clean, very, very safe arc, unless 748W is able to take it in the back half of this. But all the marches are still sprinting. There is about maybe 1 minute 30 seconds until they get to where they need to be. This could get dicey from 466W if they don't send enough marches, but it does look like they are sending some marches to at least protect this arc.
Yeah, they're going to need to, because it looks like 748W might be doing a house call on this arc here, as there is a huge wave of blue lines coming in, and they're definitely going to have to have a tough decision here, as it looks like they might be trying to actually pull it from the city. But 748W is definitely responding here as, oh boy.
Oh man, we will have to see what this oh boy is about, as he is from the future and he saw a master strategies. Master strategies, I repeat, a master strategies from 748W on top of the arc here. But there are a bunch of 466 marches defending on spawn camping the master strategies marches here. Looks like they are now sending the arc to the bottom side of the map, perhaps to the outpost. It is getting dangerously close to this outpost, but this arc carrier is continuing to move forward. This arc carrier is still, will they be able to take down the double C? They were. This arc carrier is still alive. They're able to continue with this arc. This arc is going to be able to get to this outpost uncontested, even with the master strategies, or will it be uncontested? The double C's, the Joan of Arcs sprinting, looks like they're having a split call. Do we send it to the city? Do we send it to the outpost? It's pumping. They're pump faking themselves out. What is going on with this arc carrier? This match is in pure chaos. This arc will determine who has full control, and now the arc is down 50-50 for both teams on top of an outpost. This spells disaster for 466W. This is the only way that 748W would have been able to take this arc, but they were able to get the first pull. Will they be able to cash it in? They were. Wow, what a play.
Wow.
What a 50-50 play from 466W. Shout out to their arc carriers, because it paid off for them. They were able to get that arc, and now the master strategies with all for nothing, and that was just up in the air for both teams, Dirty Dan.
Yeah, talk about a Hail Mary, and I'm sorry to kind of spoil it a little bit there. I tried to hold it back. I'm usually pretty good at doing so, but it popped up on my screen. It's like, oh, here we go. But man, what a response from 466W, because it was looking really dicey there for a few moments with that huge wave of blue. And I think the call that you made too with that like slight indecisiveness from some of the 748W marches. What do we go for the arc? Do we go and swarm down the outpost? I think maybe those few split seconds there could have been the determining factor. But man, what a response from 46W and staying composed on a play that just bled pure chaos into the match.
This match has been pure chaos. If anything embodies this match, it is that second arc capture. Because, wow, this match has just been bloodbath from the city straight into someone else's march. Has been this match for both teams here. Just continuously fighting back and forth over and over and over again. And we've seen this clash of styles where it's been occupation game for 748W. It's been middle for 466W. But unfortunately for 748W, they went middle. They decided to go middle for that second arc, Dirty Dan, which... we were talking about the point discrepancy. Perhaps until they went buildings there, that could have been the play, but they will have to live with the decisions. They will have to live with the provisioners that 466W are bringing out. There are actually not that many compared to the other Chinese server teams, but there are more provisioners than 748W. 748W super indexing to their attack, to the assaults on the structures here. It actually looks like, though, that 466W have the structure game in their advantage right now, with the extra Shrine of Life being the only difference between these teams. All of the altars being in the home team's hands here. And man, that's the tough part about going middle when you've been going building focus. When you used up your skill points, you are now in this disadvantage because you went middle. It's a do or die play. Only one team gets what they want, and because 466W were able to have more skill points, because 466W were able to defend from the master strategies, 748W are so behind in tempo. What do you think 748W can do to get back in this match, Dirty Dan?
Well, they're gonna have to go and obviously kind of like restabilize. That's step one. I think they're gonna have to get out some kind of provisioners, because you want to counter the potential points, right? And I think what we've seen in anything in this Grand Prix, you have to, at the very least, if you're not gonna out provision someone, you have to at least just try to mitigate the points that they're going to be generating. And then it's going to come all in on these arcs. So I would expect To the Death being used potentially on this next arc. And I was just trying to do the quick calculations in my head. Potentially potentially a fourth arc in this match, if they can swing that. I was in the middle of doing the math for it. I don't know if there's going to be enough time for that, honestly, but that would be obviously one of the ways, if there is a fourth arc, if they can cap the third one, cash it quick enough so that way a fourth one generates. But yeah, I mean, we're 5,000 point difference now about, so unless they can get some of these altars and hold them for a significant amount of time, I think they're definitely gonna have to go a little bit more heavy-handed on some of these mid-arc plays.
The Desert Altar of 748W was flipped, so that's minus 300 points at least for them. Yeah, I mean, they have to hold their structures. Oh, even the Sky Altar was flipped. So this is what we talk about, Dirty Dan. This whole match, 748W have been so strong on the structures. After that tempo play, because they lost so much tempo in that play for that arc, for that middle fight, they're starting to lose their structures, which we have not seen this whole game. We have not seen 466W on the offensive being able to take structures, but in succession, Desert Altar, Sky Altar, taken, flipped, not generating points for 748W, and now you could see 510 points per minute to 150 points per minute, kind of telling the story of why that mid play was was a disaster, honestly, for 748W.
Yeah, and you have to know that too. When you're doing a play like that, it's going to leave you wide open. Usually, at any time, no matter it's a master strategist play or just going all in to try and steal an arc, it's going to leave you wide open for your buildings to be captured, and that's kind of that kind of eliminates that step one that 748W needed to do, is to kind of like you refocus, get their get their feet from under them, and kind of get their home structures and everything settled. And now that first step is just a little bit delayed as things are starting to turn a little bit more blue now. But again, it's just that those precious moments that you just don't want to lose out on, especially when all these matches have been coming down to the wire.
I mean, Dirty Dan, this is looking rough. Okay, so this arc, right? This arc will give 4K. So you're saying they need to win this arc fight decisively. They need to get a middle pull, and they need to hold their structures. If they capture this arc, that'll be 4K, so they'll be down by 1K. If they capture second arc, that'll be 4.5K. They would be up, but 466W have been provisioning consistently. I'd be curious to see if the difference, even with the two arcs, with the provisions, would be enough. But we'll have to see how much 466W have been putting into provisions, because we've seen 7K in provisions, and we see that 748W are not provisioning whatsoever.
Yeah.
So that's always going to be in the back of 748W's mind, even if they win both arcs. I will say, provisioning, especially with the Fog of War, is a skill. It is very, very hard to flip your team to go provisioning focus after not provisioning at all, which it looks like 748W is saying, hey, we don't know how to provision on our team. We don't have provisioners on our team. We're just going to continue with our strategy. We'll have to see, though, if they're going to be able to win these two mid fights that they need to win to get these two arcs that they need to get. 466W, though, Dirty Dan, they have all of the freedom in the world. They could decide to sack one of the arcs, go structures if they really wanted to, but it looks like, at least for this first arc, they're deciding to contest.
Yeah, which is I think it's a good play by them. It's relatively safe, but also too, I think like if you do go into a fourth arc, you kind of lose that surprise that you would go for. So I think if they were to sack an arc, that it probably would have been this one. But I could be wrong. I'm a caster for a reason. I'm obviously not playing at this high level, so these guys know something that I don't know. So it will be very interesting to see. But just going back to the provisions, I think with the one guy at least committed totally in this entire match, I would say we at least see at least 3,000 points on the board for 466W on the provisioning point. Whereas, as you alluded to, 748W not choosing for provisions at all. So it's really a tough call.
And the arc has spawned, and there is no fight as of yet. We've seen both of these teams continue to fight over and over and over again to the death used by 748W. But I think the first pull goes to 748W. The first pull goes to 748W, and it is on the top side of the map. This is a huge, huge win for them. This is exactly what they needed. To the death used by both teams, and 466W cannot contest this arc, because if they contest, then they will compromise their middle fights. Oh my goodness, this is going to go down to the wire for both teams. To the death used from both teams here. The arc being in 748W's side. 748W having the double C's continue to bring the march, to bring the arc closer and closer and closer. 748W looks like they're clearing 466W. This is going to be a huge mid-win for them.
Yeah, this is huge, and I think if you want to play this thing safe, you're probably going to want to have to go and cash this arc. You know that To the Death is now off the board for 466W, and you're probably going to go into maybe the most even mid arc fight if they can generate a fourth arc here. But they have to cash it quick, because we got 15 minutes, 20 minutes left in the match. I mean, it's really going to come down to the wire. If they can get that fourth arc to spawn, they need to cash this thing as soon as humanly possible.
I will say they are walking. They're not walking to the Dead Altar. They're not walking to the outpost. They're stalling this arc quite a bit here. So we have to keep our eyes on this arc. We have to keep our eyes on when 748W are able to capture this arc, because as we were talking about, there is a timer on their heads. There is, they should be able to capture this. If they capture this within, the next 2 minutes here, there will be 10 minutes on that fourth arc. So they should have enough time. They are down by about 6K. This will bring down the lead of 466W to about 2K. So now it'll come down to a last arc. It'll come down to provisions. And we've seen the provisions come out for 466W. It's going to be so interesting to see if 466W decide to just go provisions and occupation and sack that last arc or something. Because they have the opportunity to, but will they choose to do that?
Oh man, I think that's tough call now. I mean,
I guess the one thing for them is they actually don't know.
If they
the
don't
748W are provisioning. We have all the vision. 466W don't. There are some provisions coming out from 748W as well. So, oh man, this is going to be so close, Dirty Dan.
I would not want to be in Viet Ming's shoes, or any arc planner for that matter, because there's this match, as you said, is the epitome of chaos. And I think there's been a lot of calls that these planners have probably had to make on the fly to put their teams in these positions right now. And it's honestly been quite the match to watch, and I do not envy any of the planners as we're going into this last 20 minutes of the match, where it feels like we've already gone through an entire match. I don't remember the last time we've seen a fourth arc spawn, so this is quite the treat as our first match of the day.
It's quite rare we see a fourth arc spawn. It's quite rare that we see the arcs potentially being split between the two teams. Usually, when you capture an arc, it's because you have the timing. It's because you have the read for the next arc. But 466W rushing to grab the first two arcs. Now it's 748W rushing to grab the third one. And this is just chaos from both teams. It feels like both teams kind of flipped the script, kind of changed the narrative for both sides, where 748W had such a strong building game in the beginning. 466W went for the arcs. And now it's the opposite. Now it's 466W attacking these structures. 748W begging for the arc to spawn sooner. So it really has turned 180 for both teams.
That's that flexibility in what we talk about for top tier teams, chat. Like this is almost probably as best as you get in terms of a match. Like you're seeing it all right now. I think Plato said it best, and there's no other like way to put it, but like they literally flipped the script on each other and started out with one strategy and then had to adapt and then take the strategy of the other team. I think I don't think you get a better match than this so far.
And talking about building game, look at the altars. They are all draped in red decoration. Sky Altar is about to start generating points for 466W. The Desert Altar was just taken. The points per minute is going to be really, really in 466W's favor. And this is what I was talking about, Dirty Dan. They have the choice. They have the onus. If they want to go buildings, they can, because they have the advantage. Sky Altar was flipped though for 748W's favor. So it looks like they're just trying to nullify the points. This is a pretty interesting strategy here. They're like, hey, we're not going to send all the units to Sky Altar. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. So we're going to start sending some of the units to the Desert Altar, some of the units to the opponent's Sky Altar. At least flip that. But we have a very, very close match in our hands. We have, both teams here playing chess, trying to figure out what the other team's doing, going building game, going middle game, going provisioner game.
Yeah.
There's 3 different games being played, and neither team knows which game they prefer more.
And I gotta say too, like I gave props to like the planners and the shot callers right now, but also props to the players too, to just adapt on the fly, because it's like, oh hey, we're not gonna go building focused, but now you have to. And when you go building focused, you have to adapt your timings, because going on the structure game is really all about timing, right? You're walking around or you're coming in for a proper defense. So like honestly, like shout out to both teams, to kind of both teams players for adapting, and even a little bit more so for 748W, as they're not communicating in voice, as we learned from our interview this week. All of what you've seen today so far from 748W is a team playing not on voice chat, which is just absolutely insane to me.
This is, I mean, hey, maybe there's less distractions. It's just a marker. Attack that marker to go here.
And that's exactly what Yomi said. He said at times too, when things can get chaotic, as this match has been, sometimes you just need it to be a little bit more calm and quiet. And I think that is definitely something that can help too.
making it this far, not in voice chat. 748W, one of the last 3 teams in the Grand Prix for the international server, trying to prove that the international server can compete with the Chinese server. But it is going to be close. There is about 4 minutes left until this arc spawns. I feel like this last arc, these last 18 minutes have been so long, Dirty Dan. I feel like the Sky Altar has been attacked 3 times. I feel like this Des Altar has been attacked 3 times. And only 4 minutes has passed since the arc has been captured. Everything's going in slow motion for both teams.
Yeah, and again, just keying in on these players. Like, if I'm like, not saying I want this match to end, but if I'm in their shoes playing this match, I'm honestly counting on minutes. I'm like, please let this match end already, because it's just so back and forth, right? And it's really kind of pushing both of these teams to the limits of who can stay more composed as we start to see that mid arc rotation coming into play here, and it's going to be a wild one to end.
You know what's crazy about this, Dirty Dan? Is that both teams, whichever team wins, they have to verse 21YL tomorrow. So this is not even their only game of the weekend. They have another game tomorrow for both teams. So, man, this is going to be some good footage for 21YL to watch to whomever they're versing.
If I'm 21YL, I might even be scared watching the footage, because you're kind of like, oh my gosh, both of these teams can do everything and can do everything very well. So it's like, how do you plan against that? But yeah, I mean, 21YL definitely waiting for the next round of teams, and man, it get the win and move on. You got to have that kind of short-term memory. You got to savor that win while you get it. On either of these teams who comes out on top, and you gotta go back in tomorrow.
Dirty Dan, it is a 3K point differential. It is a 3K point differential for 466W. And man, I would be so scared of the Provisioners right now, because even if they win this arc, this arc will give 4.5K points, so that will make the lead of 748W be 1.5K. I think 466W get 1.5K differential in provisions easily in this match.
I think so, and it would really sting, especially since that was one of the specified questions to 748W, is if they're going to look to adapt that provisioning strategy whatsoever, and they said nope, we're going to stick to our guns, we're going to stick to what we know. And man, if they were to lose in that fashion, that would sting me too a little bit. So I hope it doesn't come down to it. I hope that they can get this arc and keep some of these international server team hopes alive. But regardless of any of that, we are going to get one hell of a mid arc fight here.
Losers out, winner plays 21YL tomorrow. Exactly, win or go home scenario. Both teams, they've been scrapping like it is a win or go home scenario. Let's just say all of the marches have either been sad-faced or fighting someone or walking to fight someone, except for these mid-fights where they're patiently waiting. And look how patient they are. The murder balls are literally touching, and they're not fighting. We have sneaky tactics used by 748W. I don't think it's very sneaky, though. It is for the damage boost. We have Bog Down used by 466W in response, so there will be a lack of healing. There will be 50% less healing for 748W. Let's see which skill will win. Will it be Bog Down or will it be Sneaky Tactics Dust Up? So it's Sneaky Tactics Dust Up versus Bog Down Dust Up. And oh my goodness, this is going to be so close. The arc spotting in about 3 seconds. Who gets first pull will matter quite a bit here.
That's so crucial.
I will say 748W have the positioning advantage around this temple. Look at the amount of sad phases coming out from both teams, though. 748W was able to get first pull, so they were able to get first pull. They have to pull it through the Bog Down, rather. The arc carrier looks like it will fall. Will it fall? It is a CPO Prime trying to sprint, but this double C with T1 is just running away with the arc. They are sprinting away with this arc. And it looks like 466W can't touch it. Oh my goodness. This is the fastest arc carry you'll see. Double C is apparently a race car because this arc is out of here. This arc is gone. Even XY, hot on its tails, cannot catch. And this arc will be in the hands of 748W.
Oh my gosh, that was that play right there. XY should have kept going. XY has the potential to get a March speed bonus once it's being attacked. I think that XY should have stayed locked on because the Joan turned and started to attack it. Oh my lordy, and that double C just needed to get tapped once. Wow.
That is the power of T1. That is the power of a cavalry march being less than half health with the cavalry tree. You just sprint. You just are a jet plane, even with the arc taking away your movement speed. It doesn't matter. You're still faster than the T5 out on the open field. Man, what an arc carry. And you'll start to see the provisioners coming in from both teams pretty soon. But I will say, this is a 3.5k point difference. We have to bring it down back to earth here. The arc will be captured, but will it be enough for 748W?
Yeah, it's going to be the huge question, as we know that there's probably at least 3,000 points on the board of provisions for 4666W. So yeah, another match that is going to come down to provisions unless 748W can start to make some noise here on the building game. There still is a decent chunk of time that they can make some kind of an effect by flipping some of these buildings in their favor, especially with the margin being so tight.
Such a tight margin, such a tight match. The arc has been captured, so this is the true score. 748W up by 1.3k. They do not have provisioners. Look at the provisioners from 466W. This has been the Grand Prix meta, winning with gathering. Will 466W be able to replicate that same success that the Chinese server has been able to implicate? Chinese server teams, the matches have been so close and they've been squeaking it out with the extra provisioners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 provisioners. This one looking for that extra caravan. They have 2 caravans in sight, so the caravans proving to be very, very, very important for the Chinese server teams. Very, very, very important for 466W. Desert Altar hold, also very important for 466W. This is a huge Desert Altar hold. Desert Altar, a Sky Altar flip as well. The more and more that this game gets closer and closer to the end, the more and more it's flipping towards 466W, even with the 2 mid-fight wins from 748W. The Sky Altar flip, the provisioners, all pointing right now to 466W, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, that take on the Sky Altar, and then if they can maintain that defense on their home Desert Altars, might be, I don't want to say play of the match because there's been so many plays in this match to call that were great, but that might be the play that wins it for them there. If they can maintain this bottom side control that they have against 748W. And 748W starting to kind of realize that, as you're starting to see more and more blue marches starting to come into frame here. So yeah, I mean, the 466W is doing a great job right now of keeping 748W on their heels despite being down in points right now.
Man, this is gonna come down to the wire. It is already down to a 1.1k lead. And that's not even with provisions coming in. That's with the Sky Altar flipped. The Sky Altar flipping is going to be absolutely huge. We'll have to see if that would be the difference. This is about 600 points rather, taken away from 748W.
Gonna go more too if this occupies, and it looks like it is, and it's gonna start to generate some points for them now. Bottom side Desert Altar still in their control, so even though it's probably not going to generate too much points, it's still something, right? And especially as we've talked about, when these margins are so tight, every point matters. So huge take for 466W there. And you can see now 748W realizing it, and they have made the provision call, but is it going to be enough with only 5 minutes left?
Oh my goodness. They use a sentry to see all of the caravans. We see you caravans. You want to be visited. Even though our team has not visited you throughout the whole Grand Prix, we're going to come back to you, beg that you give us some points. I mean, in all honesty, that's all they could really do. They have not been successful in taking the structures of 466W.
Mm-hmm. At least on the back end of this.
On the back end of this match. Past the 30-minute mark, both teams decide to flip each other's strategies here. We'll have to see if that'll be enough in terms of provisions. You could start to see that the point differential is down to 900 even without the provisions coming in for 466W rather. The fact that they're able to make this point lead dwindle and dwindle and dwindle just off of occupation alone spells disaster for 748W, and they're pressing the red button. They are going hard on the provisions. They're even trying to take the Shrine of Life. The Shrine of Life is a structure you don't really see too much love in. Mm-hmm. But trying to flip whatever they can is the name of the game for 748W. What do you think? Give me a prediction of the next 3 minutes as this match is 3 minutes left. What do you think is going to happen, Dirty Dan?
I think I don't want to say any moment now, but I would say within the next minute or so, we start to see those provisions come in, which is going to obviously give us a better, a clearer view. And I think both teams, I think all you can do right now is just stay home. Just stay home. You obviously have to kind of push a little bit, but I think it's just pushing just enough to keep some of that pressure on, as you want to maintain some of those structures. I don't think you want to leave yourself too exposed here in these last few moments. As we close out the match, as the score now 600 points per minute, is insane. Yeah,
this is getting more and more and more into 466W's hands. Provisions have been so important in this Grand Prix, Dirty Dan, to the point where I won't be surprised. There's going to be a Grand Prix match. There's no one fighting. Everyone's just gathering. It's just all the structures are empty. Everyone's in a caravan just waiting for provisions. That is hyperbole, but that's kind of how it's felt within the last couple of minutes here in every Grand Prix match. Is just always this thought of provisioners coming through for the team that's down, especially if it's a Chinese server team. And that's been the kryptonite of the international servers, I would say.
Yeah, and like I said, look, you have to identify the really big provisioning teams, right? Like GUI 16 and 732A, those guys who can consistently put up those 6K, 7K points. And that's when the strategy maybe changes and alters a little bit. Hey, we're gonna go all in for these arcs. Or you can kind of choose to match it. Where in this match, where it's kind of been so back and forth, like all you need to do is just mitigate the difference a little bit. All you have to do is just mitigate it a little bit. I think for every team at this point going forward, you need to have at least one player committed, or at least one player's worth of troops committed the entire match, mostly, to counteract that provision score a little bit. So it really has been something that we've seen. Oh
my goodness, look at the score. Look at the provisioners starting to come in from 466W, and this is what we were talking about, the nuke. Boom.
Yep.
Just exploding in score from 466W.
And that's all it takes. It takes just one player, one committed player, 5 troops committed in the entirety of the match, or maybe after that first mid arc, and you're almost guaranteed at least 3,000 points. So it's like, why wouldn't you do it? You know?
It is a very safe way to get points. As we can see, these provisioners still walking back. This is for the Rise of Kingdoms channel. They're going to put this on their highlights, as this is going to be how 466W has taken down 748W. The battle of the W's, the Chinese W wins. As it was a valiant effort from 748. It was close.
What a match.
But it came down to the provisioners. It came down to the gatherers. And we will see the point breakdown as this match concludes. But I'm curious, how many provisioners, chat, how many points and provisions do you think 466W was able to get in this match? Before I spoil it, put it in the chat. What do you think the point and provisions are? 5K, 7.5. Let us reveal. It was 6.8K.
Wow.
6.8K points and provisions.
That's insane.
And even though the arcs were a really, really good win from 748W, it was pretty much negated by the provision score. They got more points off provision than the first two arcs in this match. 466W. GG's to both teams, though. It was a valiant effort. Voice calls be damned, says 748W. We could still make it far into the Grand Prix and make the international server proud, and make them proud they did. They should hang their hats up high as they are eliminated from the tournament. 466W will move on to face 21YL tomorrow. It is a 35.8K for 748W, 39.6K for 466W. As 466W will move on tomorrow. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, as we will have another match in this stream. 489 versus 93T. Dirty Dan, any final notes before you head off?
What a match. This was honestly probably one of the most exciting ARC matches I've ever watched. Huge shout out to 748W and the great one that they had, obviously, to 466W and their continued run. And we just gotta now root for the winner of the next match, which you and Brian will be on for. I'll definitely be hopping on and watching that, as our sole international team's hopes lie within the next match. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, Dirty Dan, appreciate you for coming on. Chat, 48993T fighting for the right to represent the international server as the only representative in the Grand Prix, coming up in 5 minutes. Hello, governors. We are back at it. My heart's still pumping from that last match, but we are going straight into it. Straight into yet another match. But this match, we are joined by Brian Koo. Brian, thanks for being here with me, man.
Lotto, good to be here. Very excited. Couple of Titans going at it right here. So, yeah, catch your breath and get ready for another very good match.
Oh, my goodness. Brian, that last match was pretty insane. 748W versus 466W. 466W taking that win. Meaning that these two teams, Brian, are the last international server hopes. We have 489 in the top left. The reigning Grand Prix champions versus 93T in the bottom right. The two-time reigning Grand Finals champion. Two-time reigning Realm of Horus champions. Will they be able to take that elusive Grand Prix title? Brian, what do you think of this matchup?
Well, this is going to be a great one. We did get the upset win in the last match from a betting perspective. 466W getting the bounty there. 49 is a big underdog on the international server from an Autark perspective, or Auric perspective. And I don't know, Pato. I think 49 is quite well prepared for this match. They have practiced quite a bit more than 93T. Silent Flow talked to you about how they have challenges with getting practice matches in. By my sources, and shout out to Maurice from 49 for giving me this data, 49 has had about 10 more practice matches than 93T has had. Yeah. So I think the Auric bettors are definitely a bit misguided here by making 93T a heavy favorite. I think this is going to be a super close match. 93T has certainly learned from some lessons from their loss a couple weeks ago. They were dominant last week. And I think really for me, it is a question of, can the leadership of 93T, the experienced leadership of 93T, can they overcome how much practice the players from 489 have gotten before this matchup?
Will they be able to pull off the muscle memory and the strategies, out-strategize 489 or 489 with their practice, be able to prevail? That is going to be the question of the match as we start to get into it. What do you expect to see from the openings here, Brian?
I think we're going to see a pretty standard play here. I think both teams are probably pretty confident that they can win this match. Both teams have, played very well last week. And so, yeah, I think we're going to see pretty standard openings. No Chinese sentry wards outside of the other opponent's gate. And 93T does like to really focus heavily on the outside lane and try to find some edges by taking the outside lane buildings from the enemy.
Yeah, 93T being that pioneer kind of making your opponents have to decide, do we take back our outer lane structure? Do we start rotating middle? We'll have to see if they're going to be able to pull that off against 489. I don't remember a matchup where these two teams faced off, at least recently. Perhaps.
That's a good call out. I was thinking the same thing. I don't think they've played for quite a long time. Maybe the last Grand Prix or something like that?
I don't think they first last Grand Prix as well. Okay. 93T got knocked out from 60GT, and 60GT was on the opposite side of the bracket of 489. So I actually can't remember. I'm going to do a quick Google search. 93T versus 489. I don't know if these teams have actually... Oh, they versed in the semifinals of the Grand Finals.
Osiris League. Yeah, the Grand Finals.
Osiris League Grand Finals last year. Instead of that, there has not been a matchup with these two teams. So this is the second time that these two teams have faced off against each other, which is so interesting. We're so used to 93T versus 60GT, 489 versus 60GT, but there's no 60GT in the Grand Prix anymore. So these two teams are fighting for the right to represent the international server. I will say, with that interview with Silent Flow, I mean, I don't know, man. He's very, very kind of mellow about this Grand Prix, talking about how they have KVK Kingsland happening next week. Their goal is to get better. 489, their goal is to repeat. We will have to see which team will be able to make it to the next stage and verse 466S. Which will be versing whomever wins this next game, which will be a very, very hard match for both of these teams here. But we could see that pretty standard starts here, Brian.
It is. Pretty heavy presence from 93T on the top side outside lane. Both teams are kind of defending their altars quite heavily on the outside, it looks like. But we will see first contact here, and I do think first contact is going to be pretty interesting in this match, Plato, because 489 has not been a great mid team so far in this Grand Prix. They have a different team than the squad that won the Grand Prix last season. I do, maybe wonder about their fighting ability a little bit. They've been great on the building game. They've been great on the sides, but it'll just be interesting to see if these experienced players from 93T, with the microing of how you focus fire your marches, even at one of these altars, it'll be interesting to see if 93T gets a nice advantage in this part of the game. Remains to be seen, but something to note.
The 93T team, a lot of them have been together for 4 years, 3 years, 1 year. They've been together for quite some time now. And we'll have to see if that experience prevails as the initial murder ball has started here. Looks like a good start from 93T. 489 being late to initiate the murder ball fight here. At least in the bottom side desert altar. That would indicate to me, at least from the start of things, because 93T was able to get the first hit. They were able to initiate their rage bars faster. And you could see 489 getting sad-faced out of the desert altar. But they are going to be aggressing in the Shrine of Life in this bottom side. If we go ahead and update the top side here, a very more even fight from 489 in front of this desert altar. It looks, if we go into dot mode here, it does look rather blue. So both desert altars should be in the hands of their owners if things continue. Although there are a lot of sad faces coming from 489 around this topside desert altar.
Yeah,
we have
a fairer fight there, at least a fairer fight there. At least they are getting cleaned up on the bottom side, so a pretty good start for 93T here right off the bat.
Ooh, Sky Altar though.
Yeah, they're going to be rotating and on that bottom side and going to try to take the 49 altar on that side.
So there's so much to watch here. The desert altar ended up actually being in favor of 93T for both desert altars, which we were talking about the experience of selecting marches fighting. 93T actually showing that to a T that you called out. They were able to win both of the initial murder balls, at least in the inner altar. Desert altar is getting swarmed down. If we look at the rest of the map though, I mean, all the structures are still blinking. It does look like all the structures are in the home team's possession, except for the Shrine of Life here. We were talking about that Sky Altar being attacked. The Sky Altar attack looks like it was thwarted though. Shrine of Life defense seems pretty heavy for 489. So we were talking about the outer lane structure being 93T's forte. Ends up 489 getting the outer lane structure from 93T, making 93T have to answer the question that they posed to so many other teams. Do you go out to defend your Shrine of Life to take that first occupation points, or do you sack it for mid-rotation? What do you think, Brian?
Plato, the last time we cast 93T, we saw them basically not fight mid. There were two mids. They didn't really fight at either one. I think that in this match, 93T is going to do a very serious mid fight on this first arc. If anything, I think it's going to be 49 that maybe does something a little sneaky and does a side gameplay. Maybe I'm speaking with my heart here, but I would like to see 93T seriously approach this second mid, or this first mid, and show us how strong they are or not at a mid fight.
Just litmus tests show that they are flexible with the styles. Going buildings and provisions has been the Chinese server style, and 93T is definitely, taking some pages from that. But the good old classic go mid or go home style, we'll have to see if 93T is still able to perform that. As we were talking about, 489 being heavily building game focused, they are attacking the desert altar of 93T. They have control of all of their structures. The desert altar is getting pretty low. 93T though being very pesky with the outposts. They have about all the outposts of 489 not generating points. That is about more than a Shrine, 90 points compared to 80 points per minute. Desert Altar was flipped from 489 though, and this Desert Altar still has first occupation points available for it, Brian. So this is still a very valuable commodity for both teams. As we continue
this
to
is
look
a
around
nice
the map.
edge that I've been thinking about, Plato. Is flipping the altars early on to where you can never lock it in? Because, you know, later on in the match, if it gets flipped, it only takes you 2 minutes to take it back and then start generating points. But with the first captures, if the first capture never gets locked in, you have to take it back and then wait 3 minutes to start generating points. It's really, you know, it's like an added value for the attackers to like get a flip as long as that first capture has not been locked in. So I think that, you know, 49 has counteracted losing their outposts by flipping that Desert Altar.
Yeah, you know what's funny, Brian, is 489 versus 27WP. The 27WP Desert Altar didn't start generating points until 32 minutes into the match. Like 32 at the 32-minute mark. That's when the first occupation points was finally taken from 27WP. And to your point, flipping it is a victory. And even if you hold it, you get 750 points in your pocket. So it's a win-win scenario when you're able to flip these first occupation point structures. I will say though, all of the first occupation points, it looks like it was taken except for these bottom side structures, Desert Altar, Shrine of Life, and the Desert Altar in this top side actually. So there is at least one 49 structure that continues to flip here. We got a Justinian garrison, which is not what you usually want to see from a DA garrison. It was flipped back to 93T. So 93T, I mean, I think this indicates to me that they kind of are going this hybrid approach of buildings plus some semblance of a mid contest.
Yeah, I think that 49 tipped their hand first by not sending marches back to that Desert Altar again to like try to flip it for a second time. 49 is for sure going heavy mid at this point. We can see that. We can see rotations from the bottom side for sure. And it looks like the top side is going to take a pit stop at the Desert Altar and then go mid. Yeah, 93T, a lot of marches still on the sides. They're you know what? They're hoping that 49 is also going hybrid. But Plato, it looks to me like 49 is definitely gathering in bigger numbers for this mid fight. Not by a lot. I mean, we still have a lot of marches from both teams that are on the sides, working these buildings, trying to lock in these first captures. These are two very good occupation teams. They're probably two of the three strongest occupation teams in the tournament, and they are definitely causing problems for each other as this first mid fight, approaches.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's rough about going hybrid is if you don't win mid, Brian, you kind of need to flip a structure. Best case scenario,
just to break even.
Yeah, to break exactly. If you go hybrid, you don't win mid. You might be able to flip one altar, but you won't be able to flip both because it is way easier to defend with lower marches than attack. So it is going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out for 93T. 93T still having the point advantage right now because of the first occupation of the Desert Altar. Desert Altar still not captured from 489. We could see that the map is very, very hectic. There's action all over the place. Desert Altar looks like that was thwarted from 93T. There is going to be some play here with sneaky tactics from 93T. I don't see a Desert Storm coming out from 489, so this will be a delayed 93T sneaky tactics play.
Yeah, 49 taking the temple. We're used to seeing 49 coming into the mid late. They took the temple this time. They are picking up some of these 93T marches. The rest are not doing damage. It looks like 49 is able to do damage with pretty much all their marches. They've spotted out enough of the 93T marches, and now they're going to try to get this first capture, or this first pull.
This is so interesting. Where is the first pull? Oh, 93T actually able to delay the arc by 10 seconds here. Able to get that first pull. Won't matter too much though. Perhaps this is 93T going full buildings. You can see that they were able to flip the Sky Altar. They are starting to progress on this Desert Altar. 10 seconds until first occupation points. Let's see if they're able to at least cash in the first occupation before this altar goes down, but it is getting very close. 3, 2, huge hold from 489. They're able to get the first occupation points, so able to, you know, get that out of their system. And now they're dominant in middle and going towards Desert Altar of 93T, going back to their home Desert Altar. 93T able to flip these altars, but it really matters how long they're going to be able to hold these structures.
We have to say that this first 15 minutes of the match has gone in favor of 489. Even though I would bet that they're losing in kill points, they brought enough mid to capture the mid, and they didn't go overboard on the mid. They did not go overboard here, and so they still had enough marches to. They didn't defend their Desert Altar, but they locked in the first capture, and they're probably going to take it back pretty quickly. You know, they were sort of ready for what 93T threw at them there. They allocated their marches very well, 49 did, with their, you know, their new team, new leader, and so far making some very good calls in this match.
As we continue on with this match here, man, this is... We have the altars here trying to be taken back, and we're talking about this structured play works out if you're able to hold it for quite some time. War drums used by 489 in this bottom side Desert Altar, so they're definitely trying. I mean, they were already able to flip it. Oh wait, the arc is under contention. There is 193T march at least making this arc competitive, and now 489 they kind of vacated from this arc. There is only 4 marches from this one player, but making it very annoying for 93T to secure.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's annoying, but it looks like 49 has enough there, and nothing else from 93T is coming. You know, I think that's the bigger issue, is that nothing else is coming. This was just like one player, actually 2 players, Ralph and Cine here. But yeah, you know, this is like really tight allocation on this escort. Like you said, it is like very small escort, but it sort of signals that 49 is like, they've almost prepared for this. They're like, okay, we have to allocate in many places at once. We're going to cut it close in a bunch of places, but that's what we have to do against 93T.
Man, Brian, this is, I mean, to your point, if there's 100 marches, if there's 1 march with the arc, all that matters is you get this arc, and the lower amount of troops that you allocate to it, the more troops you can allocate elsewhere, and you could see the impact on the map. 3 altars to 1, and 93T are the ones without the arc. This is an absolutely huge win from 489, and 93T is reeling from that mid lane play right now.
Yeah, although, you know, they at least have a lead here early on. I guess it was just those outposts that they got early on that's giving them the points lead here. So they're going to they're going to cover most of the points from this arc capture. What's going to hurt them on the scoreboard are the buildings that have been captured by 49. They're about to start generating points in the Desert Altar. They at least flipped the Shrine of War. And so 49 is going to probably come out of this first, you know, 20 minutes of the match with something like a 1,000 to 1,200 point lead. Worth noting that 93T does have what looks like about 6 gatherers right now, and 489, they did not gather early on, but some of their marches that died mid have come back out, and they have also started gathering, although they only have 2 marches so far.
The thing about the gathering strat, though, Brian, is you have to hold your structures, and the structures from 93T have been the issue. The middle was calculated. They wanted to contest the arc. They wanted to make it so that 49 had to send marches for the arc, but they just wanted to delay those marches as much as possible. But their structures falling is another concern. The Desert Altar is still generating points. It will start to go down, though. So that's going to be the first step. They need to get back their home structures. They need to start the Desert Altar and the Sky Altar have to be their pillars. They have to be unflippable from 489. And then perhaps they could, you know, go this Chinese server provision game But the problem is 489, they're the ones with control of the arc. They have the onus, they have the tempo, they can decide when and if there will be a third arc. So it's going to be a tough, it's an uphill battle for 93T, but if there's a team that could do it, it would be 93T.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be fine on the building game. All things being equal, 93T is very, very good on the sides. They might have made a hiccup there to where they lost a couple buildings, but I would be really surprised, Plato, if either team flips many buildings right now, like in this waiting game that we're playing, where we are waiting to see if 49 is going to return this arc or not. So, to me, there's two big questions right now. How long are they going to hold this arc? And then when the arc gets returned, what are the two teams going to do in that transition phase where they could potentially go heavy mid, or they could do like a hybrid play again, which did not work out for 93T this time, but the score is close enough where they can just go heavy mid the next time, capture the arc, and they will have the lead, in my opinion.
Yeah, but they have to show. We were talking about how they haven't shown a heavy mid game at all. So that's showing something that they haven't shown before. They will have to pull the rabbit out of the hat for this. Right now, 489, they are in the true lead as they are down currently by about 1.8k. The arc in the hand giving 3k, so they're up by about 2.2 or 1.2. I did my math wrong, but
1.2. Yeah,
1.2 lead for 489. As this game, you were talking about the structures, they are now stabilizing. They are very, very strong from both sides here. That Desert Altar Assault was strong from 93T, but defending from 489. And this is going to be the pendulum, the yin and the yang, the back and forth between these two teams here. Where there is going to be just a brawl for these structures, but both teams being so strong at defending, being such good teams, I don't expect the structures to flip, as you were talking about.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, Eleanor is the garrison of choice in Ark of Osiris. But Eleanor's not amazing, and, you know, she can be swarmed. You can definitely swarm an Eleanor and get good trades, even in Ark. So, offenses can occur. We've seen lots of offense throughout this Grand Prix. It is one of the things that has made the Grand Prix interesting. One could argue that Eleanor not being that great is one of the things that has made this Grand Prix so exciting. But, yeah, the offense can happen, but it has to be very, very well done against another outstanding occupation team. And, you know, like that one was just stuffed. Like 49 just stuffed that Desert Altar attack right there.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because you're talking about Eleanor as a garrison. If Eleanor could get swarmed down, why use Eleanor as a garrison? What is the benefit of Eleanor? The buffs, on the open field? Like what's the reason why Eleanor seems to be in every single structure?
I think it's the speed of the reinforcements, right? We're seeing teams really put a lot of effort into having these speedy reinforcing marches, a double C primary or an Ethelfled primary that goes to these altars that is specifically designed to leave your city, use the staggered formation, and very quickly get to the altars. That's the best defense, right? It's not actually the Eleanor that's the best defense. It's the speed of the reinforcements.
Double C's.
Yeah, it's the double C's that are actually the great defender here. And so that is why Eleanor, you know, is in the garrison. You know, see why the Archer garrison just entered the game. It's not available in the Grand Prix server. It'll be interesting to see if Eleanor is still the garrison of choice in the future, since he's so much better against Swarm.
Talking about Eleanor getting swarmed, this Sky Altar is getting swarmed, but it's the defensive reinforcements from 489 starting to pour in on this top side. This Sky Altar looks very low, but the rally is lower. The rally is getting super, super low. If the rally dies, I feel like this defense will be successful, and the rally is down. So we're talking about the reinforcements being the MVP of these structure holds, and these two teams being so experienced, being so practiced, you know, definitely hard to take a structure from them. So it'll come down to the next arcs, and it'll come down to provisions, in my opinion. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. You know, from a gathering perspective, it felt to me like Silent Flow didn't really. He cut his answer short on a few things. Like, he didn't want to say what he was going to do differently. What I was hoping they would do differently is harass the gatherers of the enemy team. We're still not seeing teams harass the enemy gatherers. It's probably because they're so hard to find on the map. But as of now, you know, both teams have a... actually, right now, 49 has more gatherers out than 93T does. So 49 clearly is doing like a, you know, a defensive game, gather, and then, you know, they're going to hold this arc, and then the question, Plato, is, are they going to set the tempo for the second arc, or are they going to wait and see what 93T does and sort of adjust accordingly?
Wow. 4-9, having the more gatherers, having the arc in their hands with that first arc given from 93T. It is so interesting because we saw last game, 748W. They did end up coming back, winning the next two arcs. In the last two arcs in a 4-arc game, giving them 8.5k. Their opponents countered that by getting like 6.8k points in provisions. Pretty much negating the arc plays that they're able to get. So we'll have to see if that'll be like repeat in this game.
Yeah, the chat mentioning that it's not worth it to harass gatherers in the Grand Prix because it's full T5 marches. I still want to see what a Sundiak, a T5 Sundiak march does against, you know, a Huo William or something like that, harassing it. But also worth noting that there's a couple gift codes in the chat from the Rise of Kingdoms team. Everybody should grab those 2 gift codes. I was watching the first match and put those gift codes in there. They're pretty good ones this week. Gems and speed ups and a few other goodies. So gift codes in the chat for this outstanding Grand Prix match.
93T actually taking the arc here. However, that means that the timer's reset. So 489 will have even more time if they want. They could delay this arc to 15 minutes if they wanted to. Like, this is no.
And then it would spawn, and then it would spawn 8 minutes later.
Yeah, this is a very interesting. There might not even be. There will definitely be a second arc, but that second arc fight might be around 7 minutes until the game ends. So that is going to prove even more valuable to Provision, right? Because now that they could pretty much guarantee that there's going to be no arc for the next, I don't know, next 22 minutes of the game if they wanted. They could just provision up and defend the structures, which is exactly what they've been doing. And honestly, this is definitely in 49's favor right now.
It is. I mean, listen, 93T has very few gatherers out. I see 2 marches gathering for 93T. One could say that 93T is a bit stubborn about the gathering meta. They want to take buildings. We see them on the offense on the top side. We see them with a heavy push to 49's Desert Altar. They want to make this basically about a 3-point lead, so the arc makes it a tie game, and then they just want to win the final arc. They want to do like a mid-plus occupation game to win this. 489 is adopting the Chinese strategy of defense plus mid plus gathering. It's interesting how stubborn 93T is here, and are they good enough to make it work?
Man, the thing about it, though, is the second arc is worth so little points compared to what provisioning can be. The fact that 49's provisioning now, we've seen teams go up to 6.5, 7k points versus the 3.5k you would get from capturing the arc. I guess it would be, no, that's just 3.5k. Man, that's going to be such a interesting like dynamic here. I would honestly say that provisioners over one arc, you would definitely take the provisioning, no?
You would. What you maybe wouldn't take is provisioning or an arc plus the gains on the sides, right? Because 93T does have about 6 or so more marches in the field right now doing stuff than 49 does. So they theoretically can, flip some buildings here and there and get some points that way.
This other was just flipped as you said that.
Yeah.
It's
so, I mean, that's going to be pretty useful.
There was a sneaky tactics used by 489, countered with Desert Storm by 93T. So they're using these skills that would usually be for middle, because this arc is just so long. The skill bars are probably full. So just trying to defend their structures, trying to take structures as much as possible. I will say that Desert Altar take is definitely going to be a huge morale booster for 93T, seeing that the structures are fallible from 489. They can be taken down, and they just have to continue chipping away at the structures. Even though the structure was taken back, they have to continue defending the structures, taking away 489 structures. And we're talking about how now that 93T have these extra marches, will those extra marches be enough to flip structures to the point where it'll negate the provisioner marches and the points that they give?
Yeah, Shrine of Life on the top side is also under very heavy pressure. Looks like 93T is going to flip both buildings on the top side. So, they're getting there, Plato. They've got 180 points more per minute right now. If they can do that for 10 minutes, then that's, almost 2,000 points. That, I think, can probably neutralize the gathering advantage, because the gathering advantage is not huge, and 93T is now bringing out more gatherers. They have, in the last 5 minutes, they have more than doubled their gathering output in the last 5 minutes.
If we go to the gathering,
and they put the Sky Altar.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sky Altar flip, Desert Altar flip. 180 points per minute from 489. I mean, this is 93T showing that, hey, their stubbornness of bringing and continuing to bring the pressure, continuing to bring the attack to these structures. 489 is starting to crumble a little bit in these structure attacks. You could see that 93T having a lot of marches around the Shrine of Life to defend. 93T having a couple marches around the Sky Altar to at least delay the take. This is exactly what they need to do to negate the gathering, to negate the arc, and to kind of even out this game.
Yeah, and we're seeing the allocation for 49 be very balanced, in these defensive aspects. On the top side, they brought like a similar number of troops back to their own Desert Altar and a similar number of troops back to their Shrine of Life. The Shrine of Life is probably not going to get flipped here for another minute or two. So, yeah, they've put 49 in a bit of a tough spot. They're also defending the Sky Altar on the bottom side. And they did all of this, Plato, while bringing out more gatherers. Just a nice, coordinated effort from 93T, and 49 now using War Drums as well to try to take back the Sky Altar on the bottom side.
This is a huge play. If they continue to hold this Sky Altar, continue to flip these structures, this is exactly what they need to do. I saw a message asking how long can 489 hold the arc. Usually it's only 15 minutes, but because 93T took the arc, the timer resets when it changes hands. So now they're going to be able to hold the arc for 30 minutes, which is, you can see the timer in the top. There's about 9 more minutes until 489's forced to take this arc. So this will come down to about 15 minutes until the next arc spawns. Meaning that, until the next arc is captured, rather. Meaning that the next arc will spawn about like 6 minutes into left into the match, which would be kind of unheard of. But this is the new meta where it's gathering and structures. There's no mid game because both these teams love the building game.
Yeah, so it's a 3K point lead right now. The arc makes it an even game. 93T is generating 250 points per minute more. Let's say they do that for another 4 minutes. They have a 1,000 point lead. It still comes down to that last arc, though. As much as the last arc, neither team is gonna. You could totally prioritize the final arc. I think, Plato. I think that's what we're seeing here, is that this game's gonna be close enough where if you go heavy arc, make sure you win the final arc. you probably win the match off that victory. The other thing I want to note is that 93T does have about a 15% advantage in the kills to wounded ratio right now. They are definitely out fighting 489 in this match. The super experienced players from 93T having excellent mechanics and just doing a really good job in fighting. And that does bode well if they ever decide to show up for the mid.
It does bode well indeed. And what a way this game would go. What a way to end this game if it was a climactic all-in from both teams for a final mid fight. This is gonna be, I mean, last game was just continuous brawls, 4 arcs. This game is calm, cool, and collected from both teams. They're playing a chess game here, thinking about each other's moves, trying to counter each other's moves, and it has been very, very entertaining. The arc scores are going to be so low. This first arc, 3k points, still in the pocket of 489. The second arc, even though it's going to be it's going to be really meaningful, it's only 3.5k points, so it's not going to be that 4.5k we saw last match. It's going to be super interesting to see how the low arc scores make and prioritize. I feel like that makes provisioning stronger, right? Because there's less overall points in the game, making the points that you could scrounge up from the caravans even more important.
It does make the gathering more important, Plato, but you know what? These two teams are just like not that good at gathering, right? We saw a ton of marches out in the field from 93T a few minutes ago, right? Now they're back down to about 4 gathering marches. So they had a bunch of marches that went out, gathered 1 tile, and then went back to their cities. And so, I mean, it's almost like these teams are not used to doing these things. They're not used to gathering. And for some of these players who have, just been on the sides for several weeks in a row now, I hope they can figure out how to get to mid. I hope they don't get lost on the way.
Yeah, this is gonna be this mid fight that we've been hyping up for about 45 minutes now. It's gonna be huge. This Desert Altar, oh my goodness, that Desert Altar was 1 HP, able to hold a huge hold from 93T. This was absolutely needed from 93T. They had to hold this Desert Altar. Able to hold that Desert Altar for quite some time. Sky Altar looks like it is going to be held as well from 489. So we are back to the structures being this
big attack on the Desert Altar though.
Teams.
Big attack on the Desert Altar on the top side. 93T's really eyeing that one, looking to have success with this fight. They do have the numbers advantage here, so it's got a shot. It definitely has a shot. And if you're 49, you have to start thinking about when you return this arc. At this point, it doesn't matter. It's a 2-arc game. It's guaranteed to be a 2-arc game. You just want to have the timing of it be good. And generally, that's like when you're on the attack. You want to be on the attack when you return the arc, because then your marches can sad face and go down. But with these two teams, with the hybrid styles they have, I think the timings for them might be something different. Maybe it's, when you're losing and then you can do an attack and then die and then come back and do a second attack. So anyway, this fight at the Desert Altar looking very promising for 93T as the rally touches the Eleanor.
The rally touch hitting the Eleanor indeed. I will say there are a lot of 489 marches, so they should be able to hold this. 489 being pesky with the outposts as well, just taking 93T outposts. Both teams just not allowing outposts to generate any points, it feels. Trying to get as much an advantage as possible. This game is at a dead even state with 3k in the book. 93T is only up by less than 100 points in true score. So that is going to be very, very interesting. As this Desert Altar, I thought it was going to be safe from 489, but 93T, I feel like they have a great communication where they have the 12 marches swarming, but they also have marches swarming the reinforcements coming in. So they don't get a free reinforcement. They're going to get harassed on the way there, able to take the Desert Altar. And this is where they've been able to chip away slowly but surely at 489.
Yeah, interesting attack there. I mean, the rally was not nowhere near full. I think that rally probably had about 700k troops, maybe 2 marches in that thing when it hit. They got some rains in the rally as was hitting, but pretty interesting. They were coordinated enough to have tons of swarmers, like you said, and also open field that could, attack the reinforcements. But this match is hectic enough that 93T was not able to even come close to filling that very important rally. It's very hectic right now, and 49, they've got 2.5 minutes to return this arc, and you can see that they just have not found a good spot at all to return this thing. Like, at this point, they're looking for something, some reason to return this thing before the final second, but 93T has just not allowed them to find that spot. 93T is definitely winning the occupation game. Again, these two great teams, two great occupation teams. 93T is definitely the better occupation team.
These two teams fighting for their tournament lives, win or go home. The last two international server teams in the Grand Prix. They're not only fighting for their kingdoms, they're fighting for the chance, for the opportunity to represent the international server going forward in this Grand Prix. 4-9, the reigning champions, 93T, the people's hero here, the grand finals champion. This is going to be a close nail biter. This last arc that we've been talking about this first arc is going to be captured soon. 1 minute 30 seconds. At this point, they might just wait it out until the last second. I don't think, as you said, they could find the timing, find the window, find the opportunity to get a capture that helps their tempo. So they might just hold it. We have 17 minutes left in this game. Are they trying to deny the last arc, perhaps?
I mean, the thing is,
because it's so close, it's gonna be this. Like, if they captured it just now, the arc has 8 minutes 15 seconds. I mean, there is about 9 minutes, I guess, of back and forth, so there will definitely be a second arc captured, but I guess just trying to keep 93T on their toes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're really trying to stall out the last arc, because the thing is, 489 has to win this last arc as well. They don't have, they're losing right now. They're down in the match. They're down 600 points. They're down in occupation. There's a decent chance that if 49, quote unquote, stalls out the arc, where 93T has the arc, but 49 stalls it out and keeps it in the field, that means they're putting a ton of focus on mid. And 93T is probably going to win the occupation game as that's happening, right? So 49 has to win this arc in the same way that 93T has to. I just don't think the gathering is going to be a big enough edge for either team. To me, 49 maybe has 1,000 more points with gathering, maybe a bit more if their gatherers have been very dedicated. But both teams have to win this final mid fight. And Plato, what do you think? Are they going to go full mid, or are we going to see them still doing hijinks on the side when this mid fight kicks off?
I mean, a good old all-in mid fight would be the rightful climax of this game. But as we were talking, we haven't seen 93T do that, and I don't know why. I don't know why they would change that strategy now. I feel like 93T are very comfortable with how the game's been going. They want to continue this building, occupation, gathering approach, but in all honesty, I actually think 489, they are, poised in this game with the gatherers here. I'm curious to see how many points they have stocked up, but it will come down to this last mid fight, and I think both teams will be playing a game of chicken. Are you gonna go middle? Because if we go middle, I go middle. It's one of those things where if you go, I go. And it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see which team decides to pull the trigger, or if either team decides to pull the trigger.
From my perspective, what's the point? There's no point to not going full mid. You're not going to get enough points on the sides to overcome the 3,500 points mid. To me, whoever wins the second mid fight is going to win this match. I mean, I'm willing to go out on that very long limb and say that, because there's just not enough points in the occupation and the match is close enough. It all comes down, in my simpleton mind, it all comes down to the final mid fight. So why don't you just go full mid? What are you getting on the sides by not going full mid? That's just the way I see it, but you know, we're going to see what happens here. They're both kind of like setting up for it. 5 minutes to go. They still have time to decide, I guess.
A mid fight to end it all would be the climactic end to either of these teams to show and prove who will, you know, move forward and represent the international server in this Grand Prix. This is going to be interesting. We have about 4 minutes 50 seconds until this arc spawns. Both teams still going straight towards each other's structures. We're starting to see some semblance of a mid rotation from 489. So it looks like 489 will be the first ones to rotate middle, at least with a couple marches here. And it does look like, if we look in dot mode here, the 489, yeah, the 489 marches that just defended the Sky Altar are now rotating middle. So they are going to be going for this mid fight. What will 93T decide to do? That is going to be the question of the day. 93T, they're starting to bring some marches middle as well. So it might be that full rotation middle as you were talking about. Because these marches, there are like, there's always going to be one person from 93T that have 5 marches out in the Sky Altar.
Well, look at
But
Legend
instead
at
of
VEF. Look at Legend on the Shrine of Life at the bottom side, right?
Yeah.
Like 4 minutes till arc, and Legend FF like doesn't want to go mid. Like he just does not want to go mid. I'm not sure that we've seen Legend FF go mid because he's been sort of like one of the main forces on this outside lane, and he just does not want to go mid. Like as important as this arc is, oh, now he's turning. Now he's going mid. So
He heard you.
yeah,
He
it
heard
looks
you.
like
He's like,
yeah. I mean, it looks like we're probably gonna have a very full mobilization from both teams here. 93T is dominating on total kills. They are up 15% on that ratio. So they have to be feeling pretty good about their ability to outfight 489 here. Both teams have a full skill bar, 2 empty slots for skills. One's going to be to the death, and then do we see to the death bog down from both teams, or do we see to the death and Heaven's Grace from 93T, which Silent Flow really does like that skill, but it can be countered quite hard by a bog down.
it's also countered by your to the death for those 30 marches as well. So
Yeah.
we will have to see what both these teams do. The old classic international server showdown comes down to a mid fight. If this does
Same
not
as it ever
scream an
was.
international server game, I don't know what will. Because this is how the international server plays at the end of the day, is a mid fight. My
The chat
goodness.
saying all mid, all mid, all mid.
They are playing ARAM. All mid from both teams here. As we have 2 minutes until this arc spawns, and now 93T being confident enough to be the first ones up.
93T taking the temple, as you know, the old school international teams always did. You get there first in numbers, you take the temple. 49, they have introduced
vision of
this
this.
tactic. Yeah, they have full vision of it, and they have had a lot of success coming in late. They form up safely in their area, and then they come in late. They've had a lot of success doing that, but they've never done it against 93T. You know, and 93T has been a very good mid team for a long time. Great movement. Will be very interesting to see what these two shot callers here, Silent Flow and Dao Chan, come up with.
This is an actual all-in from 93T. They brought in all their provisioners. There's no provisioners from 93T. This is all their marches. That's why they're up by 3.5k. I'm like, where did this 3.5k come from? It's from the provisioners. So they have to win this mid fight. They brought everything. Oh, there's a Cordoba here though. Will that force them to move back, or will they start engaging? Looks like it will be a move back call. Oh my gosh, this is...
the temple is nice to have with To the Death. It really is, because you can time your To the Death extremely well by sort of just waiting a couple seconds after the enemy touches your marches. You get like a really good value for that to the death. So I think that's what 93T is looking to do here. They're going to let 49 charge in. They're going to cast Dust Up once, or to the death once. They do charge in, and it will be a good timing. Yeah, Bog Down now being cast, so slowing the approach. And so we are going to see...
For Sneaky Tactics. We have To the Death by 489. Will it be a response? It has to be. No, it is a Heaven's Grace. It's a Heaven's Grace. It's Bog Down, Heaven's Grace, Dust Up. To the Sneaky Tactics, To the Death. Who will win this mid-fight? Arc has spawned already. This is how late the Arc fight has started. The sad face is coming out from 489. 489 is down in marches. They are down in marches. Look at the sad faces pouring out from 489. Who will get first tap? It looks like it was 93T as well. This is an absolutely huge mid-fight from 93T, a must win. We were talking about how they never go mid, but this is what happens when you mess with 93T's mid-fights. This is a stream, a sad face waterfall coming out from 489, and what domination from 93T.
Listen, Silent Flow's favorite skill is Heaven's Grace. 489 did not counter the healing of Heaven's Grace with their own Bog Down. Ultimately, they could have countered it because 93T does not even have To the Death on their bar. They don't even have To the Death. But the skills ended up working out very well for 93T. 3 great fighting skills in Bog Downs, Heaven's Grace, and Dust Up. And just a very clean mid-win for 93T. They waited a long time to show up for one of these, but they did win when they finally got there.
My goodness, this is the most important mid-fight of the tournament here. Making sure that, whomever wins this is the sole representative of the international server. 93T up by about, 3.4k. Without the arc being captured. With this arc, that's going to be doubled, so about a 7k point lead, even with the provisioning of 489. I don't think that will be enough to come back into this game. 93T just sprinting with this arc, trying to get to the outpost. But this is a slow arc carrier. This is a Joan that is not half health. So there might be an opportunity. Oh no, 93T sniff it out. They know that this is their win condition. They are intercepting the marches of 489 before they even get close to the arc. So this should be this should be a safe arc capture. Man, what a mid-fight. What a game.
Yeah, and it looks like they're going to be taking this arc to the outpost. The thing that the so-called Arc of Osiris experts say to never do, never take the arc to the outpost. 93T is going to defy conventional wisdom here and go for the outpost. Heaven's Grace now being cast by 49, trying to get some extra healing here to do this ambush. They are going for the ambush. They're going for the ambush, but well, I mean, listen, the outpost is risky, Plato. The outpost is risky. If 49 can get more marches here than the red team.
Brian, don't tell me we're going to this. Don't tell me we're going down to the wire.
Arvik's trying to keep hope alive here for his kingdom. Arvik's the king of 49, the founder of this kingdom, trying to keep hope alive by bringing down this Joan, but it is taking this double C quite a long time to weaken and soften up the Joan.
It was captured.
Yeah, there it is.
It was a great attempt from Arvix, but it was double C with Caesar, which will not do damage. Great for reinforcing, not good for damage and attacking an arc carrier. So now they're up by 8k, but with such a close game, now looks like a blowout because of that last arc.
The dedicated gatherer for 49 has had marches out there the whole time. It's Mao who is the dedicated gatherer. he was in this start zone for most of the match. He didn't teleport until that arc fight. So I think we can give him like 4K points on Gathering. Maybe that's a little bit high, but I think we can give him 4K points. So, and they have some buildings right now. They have 2 buildings from 93T.
Wait,
there's still 5 minutes left in this match. Yeah, they have a lot of points that they're generating right now. That's another maybe 1,200 points that they can come back with. Maybe even more once they start generating points in these buildings. So
what you're saying is do not turn off the stream yet, because they have a shot here with 4 altars. Let's check the point generation right now. 530 to 180. They still have their gatherers. The gatherers that they refused to bring home for that last mid fight to continue gathering. Will that be enough to come back into this game down by... They are now only down by 7K. So you're right, Brian. They are slowly but surely coming back. Do they have enough time though in this match? Can they hold on to these desert altars to get those last couple of ticks of occupation score? Is going to be the main question. Will they be able to deny the last couple of ticks from 93T? If they hold these altars until 2 minutes left in the game, 93T will no longer gain points from any altar. Oh, this is intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, but this looks like a victory charge from 93T on this Sky Altar. Somewhere in the range of 30 marches from 93T converging on this Sky Altar to take it back. That's the approach of a team with very high morale at this point. That was a huge mid-win, and they are not going to, give away this match at the last minute unless it's a heavy outplay by 49. But, the takebacks are already happening for 93T. Yeah, these blue buildings are going down fast.
So it is down to about a 6K lead. It's not like 93T hasn't been provisioning. They already scored 3.5K. It should be wraps, but if you're a 489 fan, you're hoping, praying that the fact that they did not bring in their provisioners means that they have something in the books. But my goodness, this is going to be a huge win from 93T. Like the fact that they're able to drop everything, go middle and win. They should be very confident moving on in this tournament if they are able to move on with 2 minutes left to go here. Man, Brian,
yeah, I mean, listen, they did a lot of things extremely well in this match, right? Against a great team like 49, a team that is really their peer on the international server in terms of like Grand Prix play, and a team that has practiced way more than 93T. At the end of the day, 93T outplayed them in occupation and they outplayed them in the mid. So that's just very, very impressive from 93T, given that they did not, practice much for this. Their players do not have the reps with these marches, with this equipment. A really impressive upcoming victory here for 93T. And they're really like, it's kind of an ego boost to be like, listen, you guys practice as much as you want. You get unlimited T5, but we're still 93T. This is defining themselves as a step ahead of 49, in the international echelon.
You could see that the gatherers here just gathering up, trying to get this point bomb from into the scoreboard here. Let's see. 489,
yeah,
this is their main gatherer.
Yep.
Let's see how
what's he doing, waiting?
They're waiting so that it all goes in at the same time. Oh, wow. Wow, what? That was actually that was like quite a couple points there.
Yeah, that must have been like 3,500 points or so from that one player.
Yeah, that is pretty insane, but that was not enough. And since that's their main gather, that should be the amount of points that they're going to get. And all things considered, even the provisioning's pretty close. It came down to the occupation and that last arc. 93T is going to be the international server's last hope, the last stand. the last international server team to represent in this Grand Prix. But boy, did they represent today. They represented against the current Grand Prix champions, taking and ending their route to repeat. 489, they performed valiantly, knocking out 60 GT, knocking out 27 WP. But when it came to 93T, 93T held strong, able to win. Look at the score. Look how close this game was via provisions. It was 400 points, Brian. Not
Closer than we even realized. We did not realize how close that was at the end, with all those gatherers coming in for 489.
34.5k from 489 to 34.9k. The big difference being that third arc and the occupation score outlasting the provisions of 489. Brian, what did you think of this match? Do you have any final words?
We saw a little bit of an evolution from 93T compared to what they did in the upper bracket. It'll be interesting to see if they continue to evolve in their match tomorrow against 466S. That's going to be a rematch for them. And it was a very close match last time. They definitely have a shot at it.
And be sure to subscribe to the channel. Tomorrow, 93T will be versing against 466S. A rematch where they will be looking for some revenge, or will 466S be able to knock out the international server? We will have that tomorrow. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like the cast, be sure to subscribe to Brian, Dirty Dan, and I's channel, which are in the description. And we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.